Hello everyone, my name is Meidei and this is Advanced Bard Guide for Dark and Darker. In this video I won't explain the effects of every song or perk. Instead, I will try to tell you about the character in detail from all sides. However, before that, for those who don't know me, I want to introduce myself and tell you a bit about who I am. I have been playing Dark and Darker since the playtest 2, and since the official release, I have accumulated around 9k hours, about 5k of which were played exclusively on Bard. For several seasons in a row, I have successfully made it into the leaderboards in both Arena and High Roller. And everything said in this video is purely my subjective opinion based on my personal experience, so if you disagree with something or have questions, I will be happy to read them in the comments, so enjoy the watching! Let's start with the basics. Buying gear for PvP success. To clarify, in normals you can run absolutely any gear you want. Try, learn, that's what normal games are for. What about AHR? Recently the gear I run almost never changed, except when certain items are simply unavailable on the market. To save time, I will leave you with my tier list of items and a couple of my HR gears, which you can check by pausing the video. In general, my build almost never changes. I always prioritize HP, action speed and physical damage reduction, while often sacrificing my move speed. I will explain that in more detail later. You can see the exact stats on the screen right now. In my opinion, around 22 or 25% action speed is enough for army sword or rapier. Around 170 HP allows us to forgive some mistakes and sometimes be a frontliner in the team. Around 40% physical damage reduction is enough, but the more, the better. If it's lower, boxing fighter and barbs in melee becomes much harder. Around 10% physical damage bonus is enough in my opinion, but because I like playing drum bard, I'm building around 15%. Of course, you can push it higher, if your gear quality is good enough. Movement speed often depends on the game mode and your team. For example, in solo and duo I recommend you about 300 move speed, but in trio around 295 is enough. And most importantly, you need maximum true physical damage. This is our main source of damage, and without it, winning all the classes becomes very difficult. In my opinion, a bard should always choose a frost amulet, because bard often needs to land many hits on the target. For example, on average I need about 7 or 8 hits to kill a fighter, sometimes more. Compared to other amulets, even an epic frost amulet makes a big difference. Now I will explain about movement speed in more detail. In solo, many of your enemies will be fast and strong, and Bard is not a class that can take a fair fight without gaining some advantage first. That's why in solo I prefer a light or semi-heavy Bard. For example, I really like the combination of wanderer attire, heavy leather leggings and leather cap. This setup allows us to control the tempo of the fight, while still being tanky enough to survive a few melee hits. In duo I wouldn't choose the lightest Bard variant. I lean more toward a semi-heavy setup, because if you face very fast opponents you will have a teammate who hopefully helps you chase or disengage. Trio is a completely different game mode. Personally, movement speed doesn't help me much on Bard here. Right positioning and not mistake is far more important. Remember, one mistake on Bard in Trio, instant death. That is why my choice here is always a heavy Bard. Moving on to weapons, we have several options. Rapier, army sword, falchion, rondel dagger, cutlass and lute. At the time of recording, only rapier and army sword are truly viable. They are fast, have convenient attack patterns and versatile. The rest are either non-meta or weak. For example, rondel dagger performs poorly in the current meta where leg damage is low and head damage is high, since this weapon relies on leg hits. Falchion is strong but very slow, leaving you with no time to block. Here are my personal rules for choosing a weapon. Personally, I always rely on my perks. For example, if I'm playing with reinforced instruments or double buff, I use army sword. If I'm playing solo without reinforced instruments, I take rapier, because it's easier to poke enemies with it. In my opinion, the lantern shield only works properly when playing with the rapier, because the perk's bonus damage also applies to the shield. If you add Warsong too, the lantern shield gets free 6 weapon damage, making it viable. I will talk about the real difference between these shields at the end of the video. Survival bow is better in solo, misses aren't as punishing and reload is faster. Crossbow is better for burst damage, opening push windows and applying strong slow on hit. However, missing a crossbow shot in solo often gets you punished, so it's better for duo and trio, where teammates can cover you while reloading. So, let's talk about builds. First, and maybe the most classic Bard build, perfect for trio with a frontliner and support. And to make this comp work, everyone on your team should understand their role. Bard massively boosts the team with perks and songs, and with right flute melodies, the team can hold angles and doorways effectively. But if your friend play Wizard, there's also an alternative version where Wizard replaces the frontliner. In that case, switching perks and songs is fine. For example, Peacemaking allows your Wizard to deal damage safely without the risk of dying to physical attacks. Overall, this comp doesn't have weak points, but the main downside is complexity. This comp requires some game knowledge and good team communication. This is a build I played almost all of Season 5 and 6. It was long time ago I played like this, and even now I believe it's the best solo Bard build. Pros: Ale lets you heal without stopping, Bow for kiting, and Rapier for leg hits. I also recommend you taking an Unchained Harmony song. Being able to open doors on the move has saved my life countless times. Cons: this build is a little bit expensive. Ale takes up almost your entire inventory, which makes looting hard, and without Ale, you can't fight properly. My current build, which I have been playing for about 4 months. In short, it's very comfortable to play against Wizards, Warlock and other casters. You have many ranged options, and hits from crossbow or drums heavily slow enemies, making it easy to chase or disengage. This removes the need for high move speed, allowing you to stack more physical damage reduction or physical power. I really love this build. If you catch an enemy making a mistake, you can kill them in 3 rounds. It's been a really long time ago since I lost 1v1 to Wizard. However, this build was heavily nerfed in one of the last patches. To make it work, you need at least legendary drums, and you will need to buy 5-6 drums every time you die, which make it expensive. But still, if you have enough gold, the build is worth it. In my opinion, the strongest Bard build available. I always use it when playing with Kuma Claw. It covers many Bard weakness, high move speed, many ranged options, silence and in-combat healing. If you ever decide to play this build, I highly recommend using good unique gear. That is when it truly shines. And the final build I know, double crossbow with loot as melee weapon. People who like high risk will enjoy this build, and I will try to explain why. This Bard loves movement speed and damage. Essentially a glass cannon. I played this build when headshot multiplier was x2, and it felt very strong. Even so, I had issues. On bad days when aim is not perfect, this is the worst build to play. It performs very poorly against good fighters and double jump rocks, because you don't have shield. Additionally, without a shield you can't frontline for your team. Now about the difference between buckler and lantern shield. While blocking, your movement speed penalty is much lower with the buckler, making you more mobile. Experienced players know you can interrupt a wizard's magic missiles by blocking their casting hand. Buckler is better at this because of mobility. But there is one more reason to use buckler over a lantern shield. When blocking magic missiles at range, lantern shield lets every second projectile through, making it unreliable and harder to interrupt casts. And the last one. Buckler doesn't get knocked back by Morningstar or Wormholes because it has one of the highest impact resistance, making it easier to box with clerics even outside doorways. Bard doesn't need additional memory capacity on gear. Look for it on instrument instead and place your song in the correct order. If you want to play Bard with the Jolly Time perk, don't forget to set your visual effect quality to minimum, so your screen won't shake as much. When using drums, remember that charging them for 2-3 seconds makes them fly faster and more accurately. This also applies to bows and other servable items, so don't forget to use it when your enemies are at distance. Advice from me to all beginner bards: never go into melee until you gain a clear advantage at range. Sometimes one crossbow hit or a couple of bow shots are enough. And when you miss, just use any open door behind you and retry, otherwise you will likely lose. Use all your resources in combat, like prot pot, drums, flute melodies, etc. Bard is about tempo, not recklessness. And adding to the one of the previous point, remember that Bard is a support class. Sometimes you need to protect your allies or even sacrifice yourself for the win. You have a shield, in best case you survive or even win, in the worst case you get traded. That's it for this guide. In this video I shared almost everything I know about this class. And just like you, I'm still learning this insanely complex class, and I hope this helps you. Dark and Darker is not a template based game, all kinds of situations happen. Never give up and you will succeed. Thank you for watching and see you in dungeon.